The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. Before we proceed to the co-prosecutor to put further questions to the witness, the chamber would like to inform the civil parties Klang Fit and Romam Yun that you are now accused and can return to your places. Vesu unit is now advised or instructed to make sure that the two civil parties can return home safe and sound. The civil parties, both of them, will be summoned again, but most likely not next week. They will be called sometimes next year on January, and parties will be informed in due course when the witnesses, the civil parties are summoned. We would like to now proceed to the co-prosecutor to proceed with the questions to Long Noren.
Mr. President, if I could, just before, it obviously has been a little bit difficult to proceed with the examination, and I will try to move it along as quickly as we can. But I did want to advise the court at this point that we do expect we will need some time tomorrow morning to finish, given the difficulties with doing the video questioning. So I would ask at this time whether we may be provided that time so we can plan to go probably until mid-morning tomorrow, if that is acceptable to the court.
The President, yesterday, International Co-Prosecutor already indicated this to the chamber. The chamber will find or will see the possibility, and the publics have already been informed that the hearing on this civil party witness will be conducted for a period of 1.5 days, and if due to any technical problem or perhaps we cannot really conduct the full hearing or examination of the witness during the scheduled time, then we may take a Friday for another hearing of the witness. You may now proceed with the questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Long Nguyen, before we talk about the period when you returned to Cambodia, two more questions regarding the radio station. First question is, who drafted the materials, the messages that were broadcast on the Funk radio from Hanoi?
Response. Her Excellency Ieng Thirit was the director of the radio station. It was her who managed this, who make sure that the radio station functioned properly.
Do you know, was there any communications between the radio station in Hanoi and the leaders of the resistance who were located in Cambodia at the time?
Response: Yes, I do, but there were instructions from within Cambodia with regard to this. Even the broadcasting itself.
Could you tell us about the instructions that you just mentioned? What type of instructions? I'm not sure if you heard my question, Mr. Longren. My question is, what type of instructions were received from the leaders in Cambodia?
Response: I'm afraid I don't know about this, because such instructions could be sent through telegrams that transferred all the way to the radio station.
How did you know that instructions were being provided by leaders in Cambodia to the radio station?
Response: the communication was channeled through the air. Even the messages or communications to be broadcast on the radio station had to be prepared from within Cambodia and sent to the radio station. I mean news articles.
Do you know who it was in Cambodia who was preparing the messages to be broadcast on the radio?
Response: It's beyond my knowledge, because it was the radio team in the country who was in charge. I myself would be in charge of transcribing or from translating the codes into the language that can be broadcast.
Thank you. What areas did the radio station broadcast to? What areas or what countries did you broadcast to?
Response: The broadcast was meant to be broadcast. Broadcasting was meant to be broadcast both to the within the country and to foreign countries.
Did you broadcast to Cambodia?
Response: Yes. Broadcasting was also made to Cambodia. The news articles, news content was prepared in Cambodia, sent to radio station in Hanoi, and broadcast back to Cambodia.
And do you know, did you broadcast to all of Cambodia or just to the liberated zones?
Response: It depends on the contents of the messages. For example, if it was about the organization of a cooperative, then the broadcasting had to be done toward to cover the cooperatives.
What other types of subjects do you remember being broadcast in addition to cooperatives?
Response: I'm afraid I don't recollect them because it has been very long time ago.
Thank you. Let's talk now about when you returned to Cambodia. When you returned to Cambodia from Hanoi, did you go to Phnom Penh or did you go somewhere else in the country first?
Response: I came to Cambodia through the Ho Chi Minh Trail because I went all the way from Beijing to Hanoi and through the Ho Chi Minh Trail to Stung Trang, Croce, Kampong Cham, then Phnom Penh.
Did you spend any time in Kampong Cham working for the party there before you came to Phnom Penh?
Response: No, I didn't work in Kampong Cham. We only spent overnight there, and we then took a car all the way to Phnom Penh.
Do you remember an office that was called B20?
Could you please repeat your question, says Longnoran.
My question is whether you ever worked at an office that was known as B20.
Response: Immediately upon returning from Hanoi, I did not really stop by B20. I went straight to Kampong Cham, to K1, and to Phnom Penh.
Please tell the court what K1 was.
Response. It was B1, not K1. It was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And the B1 office that you said you went to when you returned from Hanoi, where was it located?
Response. B1 was located at the intersection, at the villa at the intersection.
You're referring to a location in Phnom Penh, is that correct?
Mr. Samnang, Mr. President, could you please ask the co-prosecutor to put the question again, please? The President, Mr. Co-prosecutor, could you please repeat the question, because the witness seemed to have not catched what you actually asked him.
I may not have heard your complete answer, but the location that you were describing for B1, could you repeat that location? And was this a location in Phnom Penh?
Response. B1 was located near the Ministry of Social Affairs. It used to be the Cabinet of Ministers, but I don't know what it is now, because I have never been in Phnom Penh ever since.
Before we talk about the period that you worked at B1 in Phnom Penh, I just want to make sure that before you came to Phnom Penh in April 1975, did you work at an office located in Stung Trong in Kampong Cham province?
It was at a very late date that I went to work at Stung Trong.
When was it that you went to work at Stung Trong?
Response. It was when Cambodia was in peace already. I stopped by at Stung Trong for a while before I came to Phnom Penh and then moved back to that location.
How long were you at Stung Tren and what did you do there?
Response. I had been in Stung Trong for 6 months dealing with farming. We planted potatoes, corns, and other crops.
And was this before or after the country was liberated on 17 April 1975?
Could you please repeat the question? I think I don't remember response. Because during the Liberation Day, I was not sure if I was in Stung Trong or I already back in Phnom Penh.
Do you remember the name of the office that you worked at in Stung Tren?
In Stung Trong, I worked at B20. First at B20, then I moved to work at B15.
What was the function of B20 and B15? What did they do?
At B20, I did farming. I grew vegetables and eggplants, etc. When I was at B15, it was more precise that I planted crops, vegetables, and do farming.
Who was in charge of these two sites, B20 and B15?
They were cadres from the base. Response: I do not remember their names.
During the period you were located at B20 and B15, did you have any contact with the leaders of the party?
Response: back then I was a combatant, so I had to obey orders. Whenever they wanted me to go, I had to go, wherever.
Did you also at one point work in Prey-Vihir?
Mr. Samnang, Mr. President, witness cannot really hear the translation clearly, and now he asked for leave to go to the bathroom. The President, you may now go to the bathroom as you wish. The President, Co-Prosecutor, you may now proceed with your questioning and repeat the final question you put to him. And Mr. Nyam Samnang, could you please listen carefully to the questions and be ready to help him by repeating the question to him if you feel that he may not understand the question, and it would be very helpful and expeditious indeed, because we want to avoid the situation where he cannot understand the question and you understand the question but you stay idle, so it doesn't help any one of us. So could you please be advised on that? The co-prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. What I was asking when we had our break, Mr. Long Naren, is whether after you worked at B20 and B15, whether you then moved to Prevaher and worked in that area.
Response: I worked at B20, then B15, and Prevaher. I did want to work at Prevaher.
Who asked you to go work in Prevaher?
Response: the head of the office called me to go to Prevaher. However, the person who asked me to do things in Prevaher was Nuon Chia and Kyo Sampon. These two people advised me to study from the people, about the people in Prevaher.
When did you first meet Mr. Nuon Chea?
Response: before I went to Prevaher, I met him the first time.
Where did you meet him?
Response: before moving to Prevaher, I had to go to B20 where I met both of them, and I was then instructed what to do at Prevaher.
Had you met either Mr. Nuon Chea or Mr. Kyu Samphan before this occasion?
Response: the war at that time was almost over.
My question was this the first time that you met Ms. Nuon Chea and Kyu Samphan?
Response: It was the only first time I met them. I mean, that time was the first encounter with them.
When you met Noon Chea and Kusampan at the B20 office, who did you understand they were? What was your understanding as to what their positions were?
Response: I did not know what roles they held. I just knew their public role. I knew that they were leaders.
Leaders of what?
Response: I only knew that they were leaders, but leaders of what institution? I'm afraid I don't know. I only knew that I was asked to go down to Previhir to see the people and to find out what people needed, and that I was also advised not to ask for a return to Phnom Penh even the war was over. They asked me to remain in that location, I mean in Previhir, until I received any further notification from the leaders.
Did they explain why they want? Did they explain why they wanted you to wait in Previhir until they gave you further notice?
Response: they did not tell me any further than asking me to wait for a telegram they would send to me before I could return.
Where was it that they were able to send telegrams to you in Previhir?
I did not know how telegrams were sent, but when I was in Previhir, I stayed at a village chief's house, and so the village chief gave me the telegram.
Who was the telegram from, and what did it say?
The telegram told me to go back to Phnom Penh.
What was the telegram sent by Mr. Noon Chea or Mr. Kusampan?
In fact, the telegram was not sent to me, it was sent to the village chief, to the cadres, and telling me to go back to Phnom Penh.
And just so I'm clear, was this a telegram that told all the cadres there to come to Phnom Penh, or just you?
ខ្ញុំគឺថាខ្ញុំទៅក៏ទៅ
There were others who went to the privy here with me. In total, there were 6. But as for me, a village chief told me that, told me that I did not know that there was an independence celebration at Phnom Penh, and now I was told to go back there.
When did you first learn that Phnom Penh, the residents of Phnom Penh, had been evacuated?
I did not know about this.
When did you arrive in Phnom Penh when you returned from Prevahir?
As I remember, it was in the 20th of May, rather April.
And were there still people in Phnom Penh at that time, or had the city already been evacuated?
The people were not yet evacuated out of Phnom Penh at that time after I arrived. I saw people were walking out of the Phnom Penh, but I did not know where they were heading to.
Excuse me. Who was it that took you to Phnom Penh at that time?
It was the messenger stations in Prevahir who brought me to Phnom Penh.
Were you surprised when you saw all the people leaving the city?
Actually, I was not aware that those were the evacuated people. I was not aware of that.
Did you ever ask anyone why the city had been evacuated?
No, I did not.
What were you assigned to do when you arrived in Phnom Penh?
When I arrived in Phnom Penh, I was told to work, or I was taken to a curved house, behind of which there was a residential place.
This curved house, was this part of B1 or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
The co-house was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And is that the location at which you worked from April 1975 until January 1979?
That's right.
How many people worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
I do not know.
Tell us what your role or position was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
At the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I typed. That was my work.
What is it that you typed?
I don't really remember. It has been a long time. I forgot. I don't remember what I typed.
Did you have any responsibility for passports during the time you worked for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
At that time, I did help prepare passports. That is, to write passports for those who was going to work abroad.
And did you have any responsibility related to passports of people from foreign countries who came to Cambodia?
No, I was not responsible for that job. I just ticked the names of those who came from abroad and asked where they were from and why they were coming to Cambodia and what they were working here in Cambodia. That was the job I did.
The people that you're talking about who came from abroad, where is it that you spoke to these people?
I did not talk to these people, but when they came, they had their own passports. And people who were working at the place, who were cadres, told me that these people were asking for permission to go to this particular place, for example. It has been 30 years. How could I remember all the things?
Did you have any responsibility of keeping track of foreign diplomats who were visiting Cambodia?
No, I did not.
During the period you worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, did any of the other people who worked there disappear?
I am not sure about that.
Do you recall ever seeing any people who were arrested and taken away from the ministry?
No, I do not. I forget all.
We'll come back to that. Were you ever asked to prepare your own biography while you worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Yes, I was.
Tell us about who was it that asked you to prepare a biography and why?
It was my immediate supervisor. We were working together in that section of the ministry.
Who was your immediate supervisor, and what is it that he said to you about preparing a biography?
At that time, my immediate supervisor was Sun Si-kun.
What did Mr. Sun Si-kun tell you as to why it was that you had to prepare a biography?
He did not tell me anything about that. He just asked me to write a biography, and so I wrote it.
Were you told by anyone that you had been accused of being CIA?
No, I don't think so. But Mr. Ingsari asked me personally when I joined CIA, I told him I never joined CIA. He asked me whether I know Kachir rather, and I said I did. We were studied together and we played footballs together. We did exercise together. That's what I told him.
When was it that Ieng Sary asked you if you were CIA?
It was when I was in Hanoi.
And the person that Mr. Ieng Sary asked whether you knew, who was that person?
Could you please ask again?
Yes, I'm sorry. You indicated that Mr. Ieng Sary had asked you whether you were CIA and also asked you whether you knew a certain person. I wanted you to repeat who the person was that Mr. Ieng Sary asked you whether you knew, and what did that person do? Who was that person?
It was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs where I worked.
I'm sorry. I wasn't asking you who Mr. Ieng Sary was. I was asking again, could you repeat the name of the person that Mr. Ieng Sary asked whether you knew?
He asked about Tajir. I told him about Tajir.
Who was Tach Chia?
Tajir was, or he joined, or he went to pedagogical school with me, but we were studying different classes. However, we played sports together. We were in the same team. We played for that school.
Why was Mr. Ieng Sary interested in whether you knew Tach Chia? Why was he asking you whether you knew Tach Chia?
It probably because he knew that Tajir was a CIA. And there was a report that I was close to Tajir. That was why Ieng Sary asked me that question.
What did Mr. Tachchia do during the years what did Mr. Tachchia do after April 1975? Was he part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Tachio was a teacher trainee in French literature.
Was he located in Cambodia after April 1975? And if so, where did he work?
At that time, he stayed in that pedagogical school. He was a teacher trainee, so he was living or staying in that school. He was on a scholarship, but I did not know where he went after that.
Who is it that told you that Tachchia was CIA?
Response: I don't know. I don't know why he asked me about Tachchia.
Did Mr. Ingsuri tell you that Tachchia had implicated you as a CIA agent?
Response: No, Mr. Ingsari did not say who Tachchia was.
Was it after this conversation with Mr. Ingsuri that you were asked to prepare your biography?
Response: After that, I was asked to write my detailed biography on that. I wrote my biography for 1 year.
We have a document that we've identified that I would like to show to you to find out whether this was your biography or part of the biography that you prepared. We'll just have to work out the logistics, but at this point, Mr. President, there is a document that we believe is Mr. Longnaren's biography that we would like, if possible, to show to him.
บัดไอ้เรื่องนี้ดอลมองซ่อมละมอมหนึ่งชุบสำระเฮ้ยสำหรับไงนี่ดิฉัน
The President, since it is now an appropriate time for the adjournment, the Chamber would suggest that this production of the document be made tomorrow session. So we begin the tomorrow session with the presentation of that biography at 9 o'clock. Publics and parties to the proceeding are advised to come to the to the courtroom at 9 o'clock. And Mr. Longnoren, please be advised that you would have to give testimony again at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Security personnel are now instructed to bring the accused back to the detention facility and return them to the courtroom by 9 o'clock. The greffier, all rise.